Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is a weekend review for the week ending May 31st, 2024. We're looking at a monthly chart of the S&P 500. Haven't done one of these in quite a while. I'm going to try to make it more regular. So last month high was 524.38. We closed the month at 527. So just to be clear, 524. 527. Pause the video if you must. Why is this important? It's telling us that the rate of change is good. That's indicative here in the momentum and PPO. This blue line is, if you look here, it's at 6,698. Hasn't been that high at all throughout this entire sequence. It also tells us everyone who bought the dip is happy they bought the dip. There's a lot of psychological stuff here. It also tells us as long as we stay above 480, this is a technical breakout, and that any dips into 480 are for buying. Momentum has not peaked here at all. Looking at the weekly, we did have a pullback to the 10, and it held, still holding the 5. What do we have, though? We do have a divergence forming. Okay, so we have a new high on lower momentum. Now, this can happen for a while. I mean, let's take a look back here at how this worked in 2021. Okay, so you had this thing roll over, peak in momentum here in May. Price didn't really roll until what? Until it got negative, till the histogram really started to bottom out here and expand. Price got below the 50. PPO got below the 0 line and accelerated lower. What am I saying? This divergence can persist for clearly May to January, guys, for months. And I think that's what we're in Q4 here. Okay, and what likely happens during that time? She pulls back to the 20, rides up, pulls back to 20, rides up, pulls back to the 20. I think that's what we're going to start to get here. Looking at just some basic things that I like to see. Symmetrical moves in time and price. Okay, I don't think you're going to get this high as you are coming off the COVID lows. Let's just do something like this. Sorry. But in time, you're looking for, at least another couple months into July at a minimum. Okay. So pulling back to the daily, we've got another roll and more divergences. Okay. I just want to point out, these divergences have happened all the time. But look at what price is telling us. They bought up the dip. Okay, things can keep pulling back here even further. They could pull back all the way here to 493. And like I mentioned before, they could pull back all the way to 480, and it would be a dip that is welcomed and likely bought. At this point, this is simply an uptrend where the momentum on the daily and weekly are waning. But on the monthly, you're still setting fresh highs. And if we zoom all the way out to the quarterly, we could be putting in a quarterly bull cross right now. Okay, after what? Pulling back to the 20, EMA 5, SMA 10, bull cross, off to the races. So, look, yeah, we pulled back. And we could pull back more, right? Could pull back starting in July, right? You might have one more month of this higher pricing and then pull back into September. I don't really know. I can't predict the future. All I can say is with monthly momentum looking like this, we have a buy the dip setup regardless. What would I like to see? I'd like to see momentum pull back and do something like this. Like at minimum, this length, 8 months. Okay, puts us here into December, which is where I'm anticipating, everything to start to take risk off. I mean, into December, January at the very latest. Okay. And then we see where we go from there. Something like this again, maybe. Who knows? Can't tell. All right. But all I can say at this point is dips are being bought. Pullbacks into rising moving averages. Pullback into the 200 would be welcomed. It would be the first pullback to the 200 since October of 2023. That dip was bought. This dip will be bought too. I'm not saying we're expecting a dip. I'm just saying that this is a condition where price can go higher. I would expect higher prices. but momentum has rolled, and you do have a sell signal on the daily. But here on the weekly, look, dip is bought. Okay, so just watch this divergence, and if you look at the cues, we see similar thing here going on. I think this is going to continue as well for a while, right? Again, momentum peaks. Okay, and then you get this thing for a while. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we're here on one, like the peak being 1, right? We're just now, here's 1. We're on 2. Okay, at most we're on 1, 2. So these are the spikes in momentum here. We're maybe working on 3 before you get a larger pullback. But again, if the weekly on the cues pulls back to 0, that is a stone cold buy. You can just forget about it. The same thing going on here. Look at this monthly momentum. I mean, dude, this thing will go for, I mean, look at back here. All right, like all that I anticipate happening in terms of weakness is a pullback to the to 20. That's it. But this thrust here is huge, and coming off of this bottom is huge. I mean, I don't think people realize that like that has, like, this is about the only other time the histogram looked this ugly and momentum pulled back this much. 1 year and 4 months, like momentum was pulling back 1 year and 7 months, right? And so it's just, you know, when you see a mean reversion like that, like you saw here and like you saw here, you tend to get good times for a while. How long? I mean, who knows? I'm not saying we're going to get something like this, but you know, at least a couple years, at least look at the election cycle, at least into this election cycle. So, you know, QQQ, SMH all look great. Okay. I mean, there's just literally nothing wrong with this. Look at this monthly momentum. It's just screaming an uptrend. Buy every dip. It's just, it won't quit. You know, this was the last buy here that I thought was a good entry. Right now, I think we're at the top here, and until you can see some basing at 239, it's kind of a wait and see approach, or at least pull back here to the blue line on the daily. Either way, it's a hold between, you know, SMH and TQQQ. That's about 40. Between TQQQ and NVDA, that's about 45% of my portfolio. And there's just absolutely nothing saying sell on any of these. Now, NVIDIA looks very, very interesting when you know, put up this long-term trend. And look, I was a buyer back here because of this trend, because of this long-term trend in this channel. I was a seller here, right here, and I look to liquidate the rest up here. I mean, this is just absolutely insane. And still a weekly, we're starting to see some distribution, and we're at that point where when we start to connect the highs, we're awfully close to the top end of this channel. Now, I'm not saying sell NVIDIA and never buy her ever again. I'm just saying look for sideways action or something there, you know, here at least on the weekly. This is, again, another high, like we've been talking about, these divergences on lower momentum into a long-term supply. Now, it just means look for rotation. It also means look at SMH. She might put in some double top thing here. Again, sellers have showed up, okay? But you just have, this monthly is just so strong that any dips you would get to this orange line or this green line, for heaven's sakes, are going to get bought up. And if you look at just really the measured move for this thing here, I mean, you're really talking 300 max, and she's already at 248, 250. You got another, you're in the last 20% of the move. Okay, but you still have a hold pattern, and when you look at NVIDIA, you'd say, yeah, I mean, maybe this thing goes up, right? You know, does something like this, and then does one more thrust higher, okay, and lands at 1250. But in my opinion, these things are at the last 10% of the move until they can pull back to mean. And you know, this weekly here, doji on volume at the top of the channel and at the top of the Bollinger Band after riding it this long and not pulling back to the 20 has me cautious. Okay, I still have my entries, but I am looking at this a little bit more defensively and saying, hey man, maybe we missed the move. Maybe I missed the AI play. We're already up 1,000% in 2 years. You know, maybe just a pullback to the blue line at minimum for an entry, you know, and I had this buy call out right here. And it was a great reason to hold, gave me a ton of conviction. This was an epic correction in time. NVIDIA loves to do the corrections in time. But remember, following the correction in time, you get this, you know, symmetrical move, right? Then what? Then it's basically over. Okay, so, you know, like I said, maybe she comes sideways and she comes up here to 1,500. Okay, you got maybe 20% left in the tank. I don't really know, but symmetrical move wise, this thing is done this summer. Like the AI thing is over. You missed it. It will outperform maybe another month or two max, but you got to look for better entries later this year, in my opinion. Again, still 45% of my portfolio. Let's take a look at TLT here. Okay, so, you know, gave a little bit of a buy signal, but still just absolute mess, stuck below the zero line, just, you know, until momentum gets somewhere down here, not even interested, underperforming. The gold, on the other hand, outperforming, but issuing here a weekly sell. Okay, and pulling back here where momentum was anticipated. And again, something like this, maybe, I don't know, pull back to this green line is in order. So I'm just not really interested in gold right now until that happens. In UUP, something very similar. But again, momentum resetting to zero. When I sit here and look at this on the monthly, I'd say, well, that's very much an ABC pattern, and we're looking for something like this. Again, a long-term uptrend, I wouldn't really bet against the dollar right now while the 50 looks like that. I mean, I just showed you a downtrend and it's this. Okay, bonds, it's bad. All right, those you bet against. UP has the opposite look. This is a buy the dip look. Okay, that being said, let's throw the ball around the horn and look at some of, in my opinion, the new opportunities here. Let's take a look at IWM. Okay, momentum accelerating. This looks way earlier than others. As long as she could stay above 200, this looks pretty healthy. And look where she closed, above a rising 5, which is above the 10, which is above the 50 and the 20. So we actually are where we need to be, and the bands are sloping up. This is a good look. Look at the weekly. We just got the 5 cross above the 10 again, while momentum is resetting, but at the same time, aren't that extended from 0? What are we at? 2. Okay, so really I think this thing has just been range traded forever, and she's now broke above the top of the range. So if she can't get moving, then this thing's going to fall right back into here, 193. Okay, but right now she closed the week above, she closed the month above, and these are things that I'm watching. And that matters. And so the same thing with IYT. Now IYT set a new high, pull back to the 10, EMA 5 cross above the 10, pull back to the 10, Doji on the monthly, again weekly at 50. So if you're buying things, you should be looking at the transport right now. Why? Because it's at mean. And if you look at something like the transports, IYT, you've got, let me just pull this off, sorry. When you look at IYT, you can see the dip was bought completely. Okay, and we're back at the bottom of the bands. We are at demand, whether this is range trading rules, whether this is a long-term uptrend and this is the 50 and you're buying, right? Like, it doesn't really matter how you want to look at it. Short-term downtrend, long-term uptrend, monthly doji at the 10, closed above the 10. Could have fallen to the 20, which is 60 bucks. Looking at the daily, pulled back to the 200. Look, this close below look, boom, caught it, bullish divergence. Okay, IYT is showing me that there's a bottom here. And if I look at this move here, we came right into the 50%. Let's see if they nailed it. Okay. Nope, missed it. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. It's about a 50% move back. And we've got ourselves here a falling wedge that's forming. So it could fall one more time, right? Again, let's put up the fibs. These are approximations, same general idea. Dips into here. This is our reversal box where we look for things to reverse. But as you can see, it's already happening whether I like it or not. So, you know, it's put in a bottom. It's put in that bull trap, that bear trap look, and recapture the 200. So who's the leader in here? It's Uber, in my opinion. I look at Uber. We're here at the bottom of the ascending channel, right at a rising 200. Also put in this divergence as well. Weekly doji right at this former breakout. TD9 buy setup on the weekly. Looking at the monthly, held this level. I mean, again, this is the IYT trade. Go do the homework yourself. What's in the transports? Who's likely to lead? Track them and watch it. But right now, this is telling me rotation. This is telling me healthy. It's not telling me flight to safety yet. So again, I look to hold long my tech equity that I've been long for 18 months. I'll probably do a 2-year hold. Who knows? I mean, I'm just watching the monthly for any sign or signal of a trend change before I even panic. Yeah, and so at this point, we're looking at Uber. I mean, we've got TAN. I called this one out in real time. This throwback, the 3 lows, the psychology of 3, right? You set these lower lows in price on higher lows in momentum. That's the divergence that we talk about. A throwback on this triangle, breakout, capture the 200, backtest the 200, and off to the races. You look at the weekly, right up here into a declining 50. This might be the end of the move. It very well could be, but it also could be the start. It just depends on how they react here. This is a doji. It's not lost on me, but still above a rising yellow line. And we look at what's inside here. I mean, I've watched ENPH for a long time. FSLR is the other one. FSLR is the clear leader. Okay, but ENPH has done really, really well over the long term as well. And this is kind of playing catch up here. But see, these are some of the names I've been watching. Crocs, all over Crocs. Look at this monthly momentum. Again, close at high of the month. Close above the top of the Bollinger Band. This is a top priority. When she closes above the top of the Bollinger Band on the monthly time frame, it is a breakout. And when it happens, it signals the start of a long-term price appreciation or price depreciation move. Okay, I mean, it's just how these things work. They're breakouts. It's how you signal a breakout. The bands, you know, contain 90-something% of traffic, and we close above the top. So Crocs is, I think, my number 2 holding. Yeah, I love this name. Looking for all-time high guaranteed, not guaranteed, sorry. Looking for an all-time high to come this year. Nothing is guaranteed. So just one of the very more bullish names here on the weekly and on the daily, and in an ascending channel, and the top of that channel has here 180. So again, that's where the all-time high comes in. So this looks pretty good. Just a very strong name to watch. Yeah, I mean that pretty much wraps it up. I don't need to take up any more of your time. These are the names I'm watching. The timing that I'm looking at here is a rally into July, and then based on seasonality, looking for a pullback into September before things ramp up into the end of the year. So I hope you liked the video. If you do, like it, share it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next week.